Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show on Wednesday night instead of Tuesday night. I'm Kath Armstrong from the Cheapskates Club, and the hand you may or may not see over to my left is Hannah. Hannah is our moderator tonight, so she'll be checking your comments and your questions. And I've got a hiccup here somewhere. Let's go. What am I doing? There we go. Sorry, folks. So if you'd like to join the live chat, you need to be logged into your Gmail or YouTube account. That's a YouTube requirement. It has nothing to do with me. And that way you can join the chat. So if you don't have a YouTube or Gmail account, you can leave your comments in the section underneath me here, and I'll get back to them when I can. Now, tonight, if you have a question, could you please put it in capital letters? That's all uppercase for you young'uns, so it stands out amongst the chat. The comments scroll by so quickly that the questions get lost if they don't stand out. And I will do my best to answer your questions towards the end of the show. Now, if you were looking for us last night, I apologise, but last night was federal budget night here in Australia. Budget night is usually in May, but like everything else this year, it was put on hold. I did a post no-show notice and sent out an email to remind you that there wouldn't be a show. If you missed the email, are you on my mailing list? If not, zip over to the Cheapskates Club website, the address is below, and subscribe to the newsletters. And that way you'll always be reminded. Or you could join our Cheapskates Chatter Facebook group. The address is in the box below. So budget night, I watched it, I listened, I took a few notes. I know it's been a tough year for us personally, as individuals, as a society, and as a nation. And, you know, all things considered, I think the budget was as good as it could be with what our government had to work with. Could it have been better? Maybe. But there's a lot of fine print and detail that doesn't come out in the budget speeches or, you know, even in the press releases. It's the detail that I really want. I really like the nitty-gritty, and I want to know the fine print so that I can be sure that I've got all the facts. And not just because I'm a sticky beak, I just like to know. I like to know all the facts and not the spin, and the spin is in the speeches. But that aside, my head was spinning and it was just about ready to blow listening to some of the so-called professionals and the economic experts after the speeches. One particular trio, that was so bad. I begged Wayne to turn the radio off. We were in bed listening to ABC. Look, I can't say anything else. They were just plain stupid. I was shaking my head on my pillow. I was muttering to myself, keeping Wayne awake, at how they could possibly be, these three people, possibly be so removed from reality and hold the positions that they do. But I guess that's politics. They use big words and a lot of fluff to hide the facts and hope that nobody calls them on it, which is, you know, a bit hard. One thing that did come out is that Australia is in debt. Well, you know, no surprise there. No, it's not news. And we will be in debt until around 2080. 60 years to pay off a debt. Now, you know, that's time to pay off 3 mortgages if you do it the slow way. Awful, because it's our great-grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren that will be paying for it. What did come out overnight, and again today, with a lot of the reading I did, there was a lot of whingy, whiny, groaning about how there wasn't enough money allocated for this group or that project, or how this particular demographic has been discriminated against. So, no offense, folks, but I'm going to say this again. I'll probably get slammed again. There is no such thing as good debt. Debt is debt. You know what? It's even a 4-letter word. When you have debt, you own nothing. Now, whether it's personal debt, family debt, business debt, or national debt, when you owe even $1, you own nothing. You run the risk of losing everything. So we as a nation are about to owe about $1.7 trillion. So that's a 1.2 followed by 12 zeros. My calculator couldn't handle it. My poor little old calculator just blew its little mind. Blows my mind too, because that equates to roughly $40,000, if I did my sums right, for every single one of the 25 million people currently in Australia. That's on top of your mortgage. It's on top of your credit card debt. It's on top of your personal loans. It's on top of any investment debt. And isn't that a ridiculous concept? But I digress. We'll get to that another time. I don't want to owe another $38,000 to anyone for any reason, ever. We've worked hard to be debt-free, and we work hard to stay debt-free for a reason. We want to own what we have, not just be hiring it. And we want to be able to keep it. We want to be able to retire and enjoy life, not keep working forever and a day just to survive. So we have a budget. Bet you didn't know that. I bet you did. And we live to that budget. Really, really live to our budget. One good thing I heard this morning came from Matthias Cormann. Now, he's a finance minister. And it really made me smile because I thought, this guy's a cheapskate. He said the federal budget is fluid. It's meant to be flexible and change as needed. Now, that was in answer to a reporter's question about, last year you said this, this, and this, and this year we're doing this, this, and this. And I went, ha. How many times over the years have I told you guys that your budget is a work in progress? It's a fluid thing that is meant to be tweaked and changed. It's not set, it's meant. And now the Minister for Finance is saying the same thing. He's been peeping over my shoulder. But he's right. Budgets are fluid because our lives are fluid. Our lives are flexible. They change from day to day, if not, moment to moment. And if you haven't learned that in 2020, then there's really no hope for you. I might be joking about that. But seriously, this year has been the perfect example of why a budget, any budget, needs to be fluid and flexible. For example, work for most of us has changed. Some people are out of work. Some have had hours cut. Some have had fewer budgeted expenses, but suddenly found they've got new expenses that they had never thought would crop up and hadn't counted on. We all know food prices are going up, so grocery budgets need to stretch or be tweaked. Oh, look, some households may be using more electricity than was budgeted for. Or perhaps because of working at home and schooling at home, internet plans have had to be tweaked or increased, and that's been a stretch on the budget. So I'm going to ask you, is your budget holding up? Or has it slipped into the red? Don't worry if it has. You're not alone. Ideally, a budget's planned out for 12 months ahead. It gives you wriggle room to adjust on the fly to the little minor hiccups. Although 2020 is not a minor hiccup. But many of us, not many of us, work that way or even think that far ahead, 12 months ahead. So let me ask you this. Have you had to resort to using your emergency fund? Because remember, that's what it's for, emergencies. 2020 is an emergency. The whole year is an emergency. If you found yourself out of work, have you been able to draw on your emergency fund to maintain your standard of living? I know it's popular right now to not budget, but pay the bills that need to be paid when you get paid and live off what's left. In theory, that's a really easy way to budget, and it's all well and good, and the bills are paid, but unless you have an emergency fund and or a separate savings account and consider them bills, then there's no thought for the future in that method of budgeting or not budgeting. And there's no financial security. There's nothing to fall back on. So getting your budget to work takes time and it takes effort. Yes, I'm sorry, but you do have to put some effort into it. But before that, you need to decide that you really want it to work. It's wonderful to have, all the pretty spreadsheets and the apps and the planners and the ledger books and whatever else, and even the budget sheets in our cheapskates planners. But unless you actually use them, they're just pretty pieces of decorative nothing with numbers on them. You need to work your budget and live your budget. But even with a budget, there's some things that you need to do in a financial crisis, regardless of whether it's working for you or not. First up, big one, should be common sense to most people, but it's often not, is stop spending. Oh, I can't stop spending. How will I survive? I can't go without whatever. Well, yes, you can. You need to pay your bills. I'll go over those things next. And you need to buy food. But anything else is a no-no. It's not a necessity. So unless something's an absolute necessity, you're not spending some money. You're not going to spend money, so no wants, no whims, no, but I deserve it. Only true necessities will be spent money, have money spent on them. Getting all twisted up here. So I feel so strongly about this. Now I'll talk about the bills, because you can't get out of paying bills. We all have bills. Some bills you have no control over, the mortgage or the rent, car registration, school fees. But there are others that you do control, things like water, gas, and electricity. I'm not saying turn them off, have them turned off or disconnected, but you can watch how you're using them. Catch the warm-up water in the shower. Recycle the rinse water for the next load of laundry. If your washing machine doesn't have an automatic sud saver program, just put the plug in your laundry sink and then bucket the rinse water back in. You can do it. Use grey water to water your lawns, although looking at the weather map tonight, I'm pretty sure most of Australia won't need to be doing that at the moment. the rain is going to be doing a really good job. Don't let the tap run while you wash your hands or brush your teeth. 5-minute showers, something I need to get onto in this house. The shower's been going a bit over 5 minutes. Let the kids share a bath, the little kids. Put them in the bath together. I used to bath all 3 of ours all at once. One lot of water. They all came out clean. It worked. With electricity, it's been really hard to keep the power bill under control during lockdown and schooling at home and working at home. Try the 2 light policy. When coming into summer, it's getting lighter later, staying lighter later. Remember to turn things off at the wall. Little thing, but it works. Even if you're not using it, if it's plugged in and turned on, an appliance is drawing a small amount of power. Try to charge the phones and laptops and tablets in the car, or use the solar chargers that I've talked about quite a bit lately. On that note, here's something else, solar garden lights. The tips have been in the tip store for years. Charge them outside, bring them inside of an evening. Now, it's 8 o'clock-ish, 7-ish, 7:30-ish, 8 o'clock before it's starting to get dark. Those solar lights give off enough light to watch TV or to read or knit or crochet by or play a game on the tablet. So try those. They're quite inexpensive. Keep the heater set between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius. And if it's cold, put on a jumper and a pair of socks and get some slippers. If you're in the northern half of the country where it's been so very hot, do the reverse. Keep the aircon set at around 27 to 30 and keep the windows and blinds shut during the heat of the day. Open them up when the house, open up the house when the sun goes down. These are all common sense things that anyone can do. And sometimes we just need a reminder. But, ring your power company to get a better deal. Oh, and when you ring them, don't go by just the discount offered, but ask what the actual rate is that the discount applies to. Sometimes they offer this really big discount and it sounds wonderful, but if the actual rate is higher, you may be better off with a cheaper rate and a smaller discount. Come out in front. Same for your insurances. Give them a call. Ask if you can get a better deal. Well, you guys know the drill. You just have to do it. It's not one of those things that we like doing it, but we do it. And I'd rather have the money in my pocket, and I'm pretty sure you'd rather have the money in yours, or your money in yours. Look at your food costs. And I know most of you are always looking at your food costs. I know I am. Every time I go shopping, I cringe at the cost of foods, fresh veggies, fruits, meat, eggs. Everything's so expensive. Dairy, cheeses, butter. Sorry. But, unless you go on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock when they mark down the bakery, I'll talk to you about that later, and pick up some really good deals, your food costs can be looked at. Look at ways to tweak them. Buy the cheaper cereal. Buy the cheaper fruit.
No name.
If that's tin fruit, no name, or go for tin fruit rather than fresh. If that's what you've got to do, that's what you've got to do. And there is nothing wrong with tin fruit. Tin fruit is just as nutritious as fresh fruit. And, it doesn't have to be stored in the fridge. It can sit in the shelf till you open it. And it's a lot more versatile, probably. It goes on cereal. It can be put in little tubs for the kids to take to school when they go back to school. Use it for dessert, breakfast, lunch, whatever. And compare unit prices. I know I harp about unit prices all the time, but compare your unit prices. Really important that you compare unit prices for just about everything. Because just because it's on sale or just because it's bigger doesn't mean that it's cheaper. Okay. I was just having a conversation a little while ago with some ladies about picky eaters. You know what? Picky eaters are the best thing for the grocery budget. If you don't have the money to buy the things that they want, they either eat what you can afford or go hungry, or if they're older and working, they can buy their own food. Either way, all three things are good for your grocery budget. If they eat what you can afford, great, no waste. If they choose to go hungry, perfect, freeze a meal. If they buy their own food, even better. You can cut, it's saving you costs. You know, picky eaters for the most part are made, not born. Very, very few kids and even fewer adults will truly starve themselves. So picky eaters are good for your grocery budget. Look, when money is tight, you can't be pandering to fuss pots. No, and that includes the adult fuss pots because there's a few of those around too. Unless there is a diagnosed medical reason for a particular food or brand to be a part of your grocery shopping, then it's a case of eat it or go without. And if it's children kicking up the fuss, remember you're the adult. You're the one in charge. Set the boundaries and stick to them. Look, if they're older, you can speak to them about it. Explain to them that for a little while, you don't have the money to buy this and this, but you can do this and this. Show them, you know, and let them become a part of the process. That helps a lot with, particularly I found once our kids hit 8 upwards, I was able to say to them, look, you know, this week we've got to pay this bill, and this bill, and this is how much money we've got. Good math exercise for them. Let them know, and they can work it out. And they, for the most part, understood. Kids are going to be kids. They will have their little hearts set on something and throw a hissy fit. That's what they do. It's our reaction to it that means the most. Okay. The other thing is, with a budget in crisis or budgeting during a crisis, you may well find there are areas of your budget that you don't need to fund so much or even at all during a financial crisis. You know, this last 8 months, I've only filled up my car twice since March. But the petrol money has been budgeted for every week. It's going into that fuel category. And boy, is that fuel category looking good.
Hello, Bahamas.
Hello, Bahamas. Can't get to the Bahamas. I'd be happy to leave Melbourne. Look, I could, if necessary, transfer some or even all of that money to the bills account or the chemist account or any other category that needs a boost. Or I can leave it where it is and siphon future payments to another budget category to boost them, you know. A couple of the other categories that I have that you may have that aren't working at the moment: hairdressing, clothing, not really being used. Hannah's rolling her eyes at me because she cuts my hair. I just don't pay her.
I have a rolling tab going.
She has a rolling tab going. Okay. Look, if you're not working, then these little tweaks can help you stay ahead of bills and mortgage obligations without too much stress. Of course, they will only work if you actually have a budget and work it. If you've been smart enough to include savings and emergency fund as part of your budget, then you're even better off because you have those to fall back on. Yay! You've got a buffer. Then, of course, you know, you're set. So you've got your buffer, you've got it to fall back on. If you have lost your job entirely and you're relying on JobKeeper, Job Seeker, then your income could well be drastically cut, and you're going to really need to take a good, long, hard look at your budget, at the income and the expenses, bearing in mind that that income can change at any time. And if you're on Job Seeker and JobKeeper, you know, there are scheduled changes that will be happening to it, and build those into your budget. When we hit our financial crisis, when disaster struck, it was 4 years, almost 4 years, before Wayne got a permanent full-time job with a regular wage. They were hard years, and we did sacrifice a lot during that time. But in hindsight, they were good for us because they made us stronger. They turned us into really good die-hard cheapskates. We picked up a lot of skills that we didn't know we were even capable of. But we learned to save. We learned to plan for our future. We learned that if we want a good future, we can't rely on anyone else for it. It has to be us. So we worked our budget with the future in mind. We still work our budget with the future in mind because, like I said before, we don't want to retire, and it's still a ways off, but we don't want to retire and still be working and, you know, just to survive. We want to be able to retire and enjoy what's left of our lives. Even if that means, you know, just staying home and pottering in the garden, although I'm pretty sure I've had enough pottering in the garden this year to last me for a while. That's what we want to do, but we want to be the ones that make that decision. We don't want to be stuck in that debt rut and that debt trap because we let a crisis throw us off our financial plan, so to speak. Alrighty. So, if you don't have a written budget, go to our website, go to the tip sheets. On the far right-hand column towards the bottom, there are some worksheets. There's a few different budget forms in there. There's a simple one. The budget doesn't need to be complicated. It does need to be accurate. And so you need to be honest with yourself. Nobody else is going to see it, so it doesn't matter. But be honest with yourself with what's coming in and what's going out. If you need to track your spending, and spending at the moment is going to be really weird for most of us because we're all doing odd things that we wouldn't normally do. Track your spending so you know exactly where every cent is going. Then you can sit down and you can come up with your plan to work and live your budget. And hopefully it will see you through. But please do include a category for savings and a category for emergency funds, even if it's just $1 a week that goes into both. It's a start. Once you get started, it becomes a habit. And when you get back to work, back on your feet, you can put more. You can increase what you're saving and increase your emergency fund contributions. Just think of them, treat them as a bill. Treat them like you do the gas, the electricity, the water, any loans, the mortgage, school fees, whatever. Treat them as a bill so that they are always paid first. And then when there's a crisis of any kind, financial, you lose your job, or the washing machine blows up, or it doesn't stop raining and you didn't build an ark, so your house is floating, you will be able to cope with it And if you can ease the financial stress, then the rest of the stresses are quite easy to deal with. But money worries and worrying about how you're going to pay the bills, how you're going to keep a roof over your family's head, how you're going to put food on the table are 3 stresses that nobody needs. And you don't have to have them if you plan your budget. Everyone's budget will be different. We live a very different lifestyle to Maureen or to Joy or to Pamela or to Kerry. We live a very different lifestyle because it's us. They wouldn't want to live our lives. We don't want to live theirs. So everybody's lifestyle is different. And that means that while our basic needs might be the same, food, housing, clothing, within those parameters, our needs are different. So everybody's budget is going to be different. Don't look at mine and go, oh no, we don't have that much money, so we can't do that. Of course you can't. You're not living my life. It's like when people ask me, about my grocery budget and how much do I spend on this and how much do I spend on that? Well, I can tell them, and I do, but it's irrelevant because unless they eat what we eat in the amounts that we eat, the way that we eat it, when we eat it, it's irrelevant. It means nothing to them. It's just figures and facts and becomes confusing. So your budget is yours. It's personal. And it's for you to work and you to live. Only you can live your budget. Work it out now. If you don't have it going for you at the moment, work it out. Start tonight. Work it out on your current circumstances. Forget about what might be coming in the future. That's a might or a maybe. It's not a given fact. So forget about that. Work about on what you have now. List all your expenses. If you've got to break them down into 2 parts, as in necessities, and we've covered those, and non-necessities, do it. Necessities always come first. Shelter, food, clothing, bills. Shelter, food, bills, and then clothing. But even clothing, you can go for a long time without buying clothes. Adults can anyway. And kids' clothes can be handed down, There are ways around it. But work your budget and then live it. And then it will support you through a crisis. A financial crisis, a virus crisis, a disaster, natural disaster, a non-natural disaster. It will support you through that. But you do need to work it and live it. And often it's the living part that people forget. Okay, so we've got any questions, Floss? Did you remember to put your questions in capitals so that she can find them? I can't see them tonight, so I can't do that. But if you put them in capitals, they stand out and we can pick them up. She's looking.
Joy says her extra electricity is coming from her fuel budget, so that's dropped dramatically.
So is mine, Joy. Oh, I feel quite rich when I look at the fuel category.
Joy has also said, because of the cheapskate diary, I now have the list of when the occasional bills are due. Maureen has a normal budget and a bare bones budget if needed.
Bare bones, perfect. We have the bare bones grocery challenge. Maybe we should do a bare bones budget challenge. I'll have to think about that.
That's something different.
Yeah.
All right. Kerry says my fortnightly shop at NQR, she kept down to $52, and that included the $10 turkey thigh roast for Christmas.
Well done, Kerry. Well done.
Where are we?
Don't know where you are, darling. Where are you? But while she's looking for your questions, folks, if you haven't already given me a thumbs up, please do. Really helps with our YouTube rankings. I don't know how they do it because it's all quite complicated, and that was never my forte. Give me facts and figures, I can work it out, but that stuff just goes over my head. But it is important to the channel. I don't get anything for it, but it is important to the channel.
Barb says that the crafting fund could always do with a boost.
Oh, Barb. I'm trying to use up what I have, Barb, without buying anything new. Hannah's in hysterics over here. But we are trying to use up what we have. We have a lot. Not all bought at once, of course. It's accumulated over the years. And a lot of my craft stuff is, you know, little bits of paper or scraps. Most people call them scraps, or patterns for things that I've pulled out of magazines or whatever. I've got the odd balls of wool. A lot of my wool and yarn came from Mum. So there might be, you know, enough to do one dishcloth, or there could be enough to do a striped cardigan for a baby or something. So there's lots of little bits that I'm trying really hard to use up this year. I'm going to have my cup of tea. I think it's gone cold. Oh, no, not too bad.
Maureen says that she loved the newsletter you did a few years ago on how are we going to survive? No, how are we going to live on a really tight budget?
We did it too.
Good memory.
Did you hear that, Maureen? Hannah says you've got a good memory. We our income was drastically cut, way back again. Yeah, that's that was actually when I first started doing the yearly shopping. When I switched from monthly groceries to yearly groceries, and I took 3 months to build up my year's supply of groceries, because I knew that our income from a particular date was going to drop by a lot, by more than half. And so, but we still had kids at school. And so things were going to be really tight again. You know, I don't know. Seems to be the story of my life. Things get loose, things get tight. It's like my clothes. Go on a diet, clothes fit. Forget the diet, clothes don't fit. And budgeting's a bit the same. So we work like that. But we did it. But I cut right back to bare bones, absolute bare bones. And I became number one son, AJ number one son, told me I was the power Nazi because I'd follow everyone around turning off lights, turning off PowerPoints. I changed light globes to smaller ones. I took light globes out of the hallway lights. I was just so they couldn't be used. What's wrong?
Did you?
I did. Yeah.
Did not even notice.
Hannah didn't even notice. There you go. I became really followed them around and turning taps off. We had if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down rule for the toilets, unless there were visitors coming. All sorts of things. I got Wayne to hook up this amazingly complicated grey water system so that I could do the front and back grass without having to use good water and pay for it. So many things. So many things I did. That it was about 15 months, 16 months. We survived. And pretty much if you didn't know, or people that didn't know actually didn't notice a change in the way we lived and the way things were done. So, yeah. All right. Any more questions? I found.
Oh, you found him?
I haven't got questions yet, but yeah. Okay. All right. Let me see. Hi, Barb. Barb's on Queensland time. Up. Don't worry.
Oh.
Okay, now. So Judy says, so far we're still saving a little and on track. I don't think you stagnated while you're in hospital, Judy. But yeah, that sort of thing is, I found that too, although when I became ill, I did this mad panic and, oh my goodness, if I have to go to hospital for any length of time. So I had new pajamas, a new dressing gown, new slippers. And then I thought, oh, I need a toiletry bag. Well, I had a toiletry bag that had been Mum's. Or Mum gave me that she wasn't using. So I had that and filled that up. And thankfully, I had all the little, from our many motel stays over the years, from the few motel stays we've had over the years, the shampoos and soaps and things I had. So I put those in the hospital bag and kept that bag packed. Yeah. So when I come home, everything get washed, get packed back in the bag for the next trip. Yeah. Right. Okay, what did Maureen do? Barb said yum. Maureen, we've been very blessed. The DH work has given him an extra in his pay for the extra electricity, so he's working from home. Oh, that's good, Maureen.
She made a crumble, by the way.
Oh, you made a crumble with tin. Oh, tinned fruit, stewed fruit. It all works. It all works the same way. I bet everyone ate it and enjoyed it just as much. It works. I remember I buy our tinned fruit, which is the fruit that I don't do myself. So the tinned fruit comes from SPC. So Wayne and I used to try and work a trip to SPC on one of our Sydney trips. We'd do a slight detour. Slight detour and go to SPC and load the car up. And I remember one time we had the 3 kids with us and we'd been to Sydney and they had so many really good deals. And it just worked out that they had the really good deals and we had the extra money at the time. So, this is dreadful. Because we had all our luggage for the 5 of us in the boot of the car. So the kids ended up sitting on their pillows, and then in the footwells across the back seat were all the cases of fruit, and we packed it in around the boundary of the boot, the side of the boot. I had some at my feet. Oh, it was hilarious. We had so much.
You held on to the Chuppa Chups too.
I did hang on to the Chuppa Chups. Yep. Nobody was getting those Chuppa Chups in case they mucked up. Nothing wrong with tinned fruit. Works fine. And you know what? Australians used to love tinned fruit. It used to be the thing to have tinned fruit and ice cream for dessert. Tinned peaches or tinned pears or apricots or 2 fruits. And that's still a perfectly good dessert. I can remember back when I was younger, I was still a child, pavlova was the pavlova, whipped cream, and then tinned fruit salad, drained tinned fruit salad on top of it. And it was delicious. There's nothing wrong with tinned fruit. Okay. All right. So what does Joy do? She uses leftover freezer, leftover meals on days when someone doesn't like something. Yep. Works well. Okay. All right. Now, Delaney's hair's finally now long enough for her to start cutting it again. Yeah. All right. Now, Maureen, I found Maureen's comment about the newsletter on how we're going to live on a really tight budget. I'm glad you're not constantly worried about money anymore, Barb. You do really well. I love reading your posts about what you're doing and how you're saving and saving for your holidays, saving for this. You've got your Christmas fund and everything worked out. All right. Okay. Tetris, that's it. Kerry, you do. So many great deals. It's not quite the same. They moved into the new warehouse. It's not quite the same as it used to be, but we now have the Food Factory outlet in Bayswater, which is an SPC outlet. It is not SPC owned. It is different, but it's reasonable. It's cheaper, saves going to Shepparton. And seeing as how we can't move from Melbourne, what's wrong?
We have to get these from Kmart.
Show me. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Can you see? She wants these. Are they glasses?
Yeah, stemless wine glasses.
Stemless wine glasses. Just what we need. Well, if there's 3 come in, 30 have to go out.
There's 6 coming in.
Oh, 6. So 60 have to go out.
Yeah,
60 individual things have to go out. I've changed the rules. Okay, Kerry, I was like that the last trip to Shepparton. We played SBC trying to fit everything 4 people in. And yes, and pulsar. Oh, my goodness. Delaney, tin fruit these days, if you do your tin fruit in juice or water, it's no different to doing it at home. It should just be the tinned fruit and the juice of water. Sometimes they'll put a little ascorbic acid in it to stop it discolouring, but, yes, Barb, you should have seen, because luckily the kids were little. They were still in primary school. Hannah was just 5 or 6. She was only tiny. So, but they were all still in booster seats? No? You were out of your seats?
Yep.
So you must have been 7.
Don't know.
Yeah. So, but they were still little, but they were all and they were so stacked up that their heads were almost touching the roof in the back of the car. Oh my goodness, it was hilarious. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Mel, we've been looking at the Christmas things that came up, but none of it's available yet. Thank goodness. Okay. Barb says she loves them and she doesn't even drink. Would you know, Barb, I've always used our wine glasses. Even when the kids were little, very little, I made it a point to use good dishes. I always had little crystal sweet dishes. They would have their ice cream or their jelly or whatever in little crystal sweet dishes. I would give them a glass. I figured it was easier to teach them from when they were very young that some things need to be looked after. They're special things and they need to be looked after. Mum did the same. I don't know whether she did it with us. I can't remember back that far.
The little wine glasses.
But she had little sherry glasses. And from when the kids were old enough to sit at the table, so probably 2-ish, they'd be sitting at the table with us. They always had their little wine glasses. We just did it. And so I still use them. I might just have lemon cordial in it. Or, oops, someone's here.
Parcel.
Be a parcel. There you go. Doorbell works. So we just figured, I just thought, I teach them how to look after the good stuff. And we'd set the table so they know to use the cutlery from the outside in and which fork and knife and spoon and goes with what. They know how to do that, how to put their serviette on their lap and stuff. We just did it. I don't know whether they do it when they're out now, they're adults, but I tried my best. Okay. I'm from Europe, Debbie, the Netherlands, and I'm starting from 0. Oh, Debbie, are you in Melbourne or Sydney, a capital city, Debbie? Welcome anyway. No, Anne, we can't go to Kmart, and they're not available online yet.
Been hard.
We had a 16-year-old. I can't read. Sorry. Going too fast for me. I was a mean mum, Barb. I'm still a mean mum. In fact, a friend sent Wayne a photo today of a cloud, and it really does. The cloud looks like a witch on a broom, and Craig sent it to Wayne. And what did he say?
Cass got an out.
Oh yeah, Cass escaped from Melbourne. And on my comment back was, well, no, that's not me because my broom's turboed. But Wayne cracked up. He thought it was hilarious. I can be a mean mother. Don't worry. Estelle thought the gel was hers. Oh, tea sets. Mel bought a tin tea set for a friend's daughter. How nice is that? A lovely, lovely present. Hannah's got a really pretty little Fruits of the Spirit tea set. It's around somewhere. She can't remember. I've put it away. Little tiny china porcelain one. It's very cute.
Oh, the miniature one.
Yep.
Just that miniature tea set. I know what you're talking about.
All right. So, yeah, no, they're not in stock yet, Barb. Out of stock. Never mind. It's not that long till Christmas. Have you guys signed up to our Own Your Christmas countdown? It's over on our website, cheapskatesclub.net. On the front page, you'll see if you click go for Own Your Christmas. It's not too late to join the challenge and own your Christmas. We work for 8.5 weeks this year. It's just the way the dates fall. Crazy, I know, but it's the way the dates fall. And by the 1st of December, we can sit back and relax, put our feet back.
Use the Kmart tumblers.
Yeah, I was going to say put our lemon cordial in the wine glass. And let everyone else run around like headless chooks in the heat and the crowds and the cranky kids and the grumpy granddads, and we'll be all happy and relaxed. So that's that's on our website. All righty, folks, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If there's no more questions, I'm sure there's no more questions. I'll give you a moment. I'll say good night. And thank you for joining us. I hope being on a Wednesday didn't throw you too much. But honestly, I was glued for about 2.5 hours last night, glued to making notes about all the different things that were coming out of the budget and then trying to find them and corroborate them and make sure who said what was right. Then I went to bed and listened to those 3 Wallies. Sorry. And I did. I just went, please turn it off. It's doing my head in. I'm about to explode. I don't know how people can not live in the room. And they were 3, one respected economist, one person who is very high up in the Council of Social Services, and another journo economist type person. And oh my gosh, did anyone watch the Trump-Biden debate last week? It was worse than that. It was just dreadful. Listening to them was dreadful. And I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a financial counsellor. I'm me. But even I could see that they had no idea. They have no idea how we live, how people on a limited income live. They just don't know. Anyway, so no more questions. Thank you, Maureen. Good for you, Lisa. All righty. I wanted to know what a bare bones budget was. Mel, bare bones budget. Might make that next week's show. Will that work? Does that suit everyone? Next Tuesday, we'll do the bare bones budget. If you go to our website, Mel, which is cheapskatesclub.net, if you type in bare bones groceries, that will bring up the bare bones grocery list for you. And there's the printables, there's a whole lot of recipes and all sorts of things for that. And that's a grocery list of will feed a family of 4, and it's bare bones, folks, nothing fancy, bare bones for $20. So you'll find that, and next week we'll do the bare bones budget if that suits everyone. I'll just rearrange the schedule. Alrighty, yes please, okay. And then ScoMo spouting off about how he was the social services minister. Politicians have no idea. No, they don't. Kerry, they truly don't. Doesn't matter who they are, which party they're aligned with, what portfolio they hold, whether they're in the Senate. They just have no idea. But you and I do, and we do well for our families. So, you know, I'm the Minister of Finance for our family. I keep us on track. Okay. So, one last thing before I go. If you haven't already given us a thumbs up, please do. The thumb is just down there underneath me. Just click on that icon, the thumbs up icon. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we would love to have you as a subscriber. We're over 2,000 now.
Yeah. Over
cool.
2.5.
Because over 2.5. Woohoo! Okay, so next week we have to do a random prize draw then. Okay, because I said when we got to 2,000, we'd do a prize draw. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Just hit that subscribe button, and there's a bell next to it. Click the bell, and that will let you be notified every time there's a new video or a new live show coming up. Okay, thank you again for joining us. Have a lovely, lovely week, everyone, and we'll be back to our normal Tuesday show next week. Goodbye. Hannah's the Minister for Spending, but she's a real tightwad. She's worse than a cheapskate. She's a tightwad, Barb.
Minister for Unit Pricing.
Minister for Unit Pricing. There you go. Okay. Bye, everyone.